video, we are going to show you how to complete a GOS1 form on PCSE Online. Once you have logged into PCSE Online, then click the ophthalmic tile, then make a claim, then GOS1. Today's date will auto-populate in the planned site test date box, as well as the details of the performer that I'm logged in as and the dummy practice that we have in our test environment. So we're going to complete the patient details. So our patient is Miss Testing. So we complete their name and use the postcode search function to find the address. We scroll down the list of addresses for the postcode to find the address of our patient and then enter the patient's date of birth. Now, this patient has not been to our practice before, so we don't know the date of the last site test, and the patient themselves can't remember, so we're going to tick the not known box and then save and next. Then we come to patient eligibility. So the patient has advised us that they receive universal credit, but they haven't brought any evidence of their eligibility, so we tick the not seen box. And then we scroll down to the new minimum interval check box that has been introduced to PCSE Online. Now, the patient declaration, where they provide consent for their details to be used as part of the checks that are run for a GOS claim, that declaration box comes in the next section of the form. So before we run the minimum site test interval check, then we ask the patient for verbal consent to using their information, then tick the box. Once we've ticked the box, a pop-up message will appear on the screen, and in this instance, this tells us that a routine site test can go ahead because the patient has not had a site test within the interval period allowed for their eligibility criteria. If the check of the data on the PCSE system shows that a patient has had a site test at a practice within the minimum interval check, then a different message will be displayed on the screen, and the performer will have to determine whether there is a clinical reason for an early site test for the patient, and if there is, then of course they would select the appropriate early retest code or the early retest code that would seem most appropriate at this moment. If after the site test takes place, then the performer decides that it's a different early retest code that is more appropriate, then they are advised to make a note on the patient record and explain and record which code was entered on PCSE Online based on the information at the start of the site test. So, as we said, for this patient, they have not had a site test within the minimum interval period, so we can proceed with save and next to complete the rest of the claim form. The patient declaration then is the next stage, so the patient is asked to check the information and to sign the form. So we pass the form to the patient to sign. Click accept, and then we have our patient signature. Moving on to save and next, and then at the end of the site test, then the performer will complete the performer's declaration. So in this case, we're going to say the patient was needed to be referred. So the performer signs and saves the claim awaiting contractor signatory. Then the contractor signatory will log in, sign the claim form and submit. And that's our GOS1 submitted.